I think just getting from place to place. I mean, most definitely they kind of treated her with gloves a little bit. So like maybe that she wasn't fully capable mentally, even though she was fully capable mentally. She just wasn't fully capable physically. She was happy to be able to do what she could do. So she definitely didn't like feel sorry for herself or feel frustrated. She had an electric wheelchair. It allowed her to have some independence, that she could get around without somebody pushing her all the time. And I guess the biggest disadvantage was that it weighed like 250 pounds, so it wasn't something that you could just pick up and throw in the trunk. So it, where she could go was kind of limited by where we could get the chair. I actually don't think that she was discriminated against all that much. I mean, there were definitely some places, like you could really tell how people would treat people with disabilities by how accessible their businesses were, their places. I would say in general, at least like most places of business and libraries and things like that are pretty accessible. I never felt like anybody treated her intentionally badly. They definitely treated her like she was different, and maybe that, because she had a disability, that maybe she wasn't quite as strong mentally either. And every time we were thinking about doing something, we had to take into consideration how we were going to get her there. What kind of challenges there were going to be going from place to place and things like that. So, I think the good news is it didn't really hinder too much of what we wanted to do, but it was something we always had to consider. We always had to plan for. Well, my house, we had to put ramps up the front stairs so that she could get the wheelchair up the front stairs. We bought a chair that had an electric lift, because she could get out of her wheelchair, but she couldn't get into a regular chair. So she could get into the chair that had an electric lift. In her house, she had to pull out the regular bathtub that she had and put in a special bathtub that she could basically walk into. It had a door that would open and close, because she couldn't get into she couldn't stand long enough to be in a shower or something like that. There are definitely people, if we were out in a crowd, there were definitely people who would be in a rush and would sort of edge their way around to try to pass us when we were going down a street or a sidewalk or something like that. I'd say most people, when they would interact with her, were generally pretty nice to her. I would say it's anybody who was being inconvenienced by her, like if they were waiting on the line and she couldn't go quite as fast as everybody else, they'd try to push around her. Or if we were going down a sidewalk and they wanted to go faster than her, they kind of maybe gave her a look geez, what's going on? Why don't we go faster? No, I don't think so. My dad bought the van that was built just so she could do whatever she wanted to do. She could get anywhere. The modifications to it probably cost $10,000. She didn't let it bother her. This is who I am, and this is how it's going to be for me. If you're going to be inconvenienced and be a little bit upset about it, that's your problem. Shockingly, not that big of a problem. I'm trying to think if there was ever a place, all public places have to have some kind of access. It's just how good the access is. And I don't remember ever going to a place and saying, this is just too scary. Sometimes the ramps will be a little bit steeper, and that gets a little bit scary, but I don't think there was ever a time where she wanted to be somewhere that she couldn't get there.